Hello, hello. This is the My Artifact episode number 3796. Today's date is wait. All right. Okay. Today's date is January 4th, 2026. It's been almost like morning at 9:07 and 07. It's morning at 8 a.m. It's almost like a 9 a.m. Yeah. I'm kind of like look really good. Okay, yeah. I'm kind of like sitting here in front of the sun. Um, I am kind of like looking at my nose. My nose are kind of like quite big, like legit big. Yeah, if you kind of like see me from side point of perspective, you kind of like see this curve. Okay, yeah, and this is kind of like a really legit nose. Why do I have this kind of like a bulky nose and things like that? I don't know why, but whatever. Okay, should we jump into the question? Alright, yeah, let's jump right into the question. Okay, yeah. The question is, what if laughter cured illness? Cured illness, cured illness. Okay, not cured, cured illness. Okay, that's a really good question. Okay, first of all, what is at least this question and why am I asking this question to myself? This is what if question. Why am I asking this question to myself? What if question is always really interested way to give the answer. It kind of like a force me to think about that reality. When I try to think about that reality or when I try to create that reality, I'm kind of like a utilizing my knowledge and information and experience that I've been through, and somehow it felt good. The information that I'm trying to tell you is not exactly right, or sorry, disclaimer, the information that I'm trying to tell you is not exactly right or is not exactly wrong either. It's a raw, it's unfiltered, it's just my opinion. So do not believe in any kind of like information that I am saying, or do not seek for any kind of like information that I am saying. It's just my opinion, and opinion are subjective. Now regarding about the question says that ki what if kind of like a laugh would kind of like a cure the illness, cure the illness. What if laugh could cure the illness? Like, can laugh would kind of like a cure anything kind of like a illness or things like that? Well, I don't know regarding about, like, I'm not a kind of like a medical person. Okay, I don't really have any kind of like a practical evidence regarding about things. But I have my personal experience, and I'm gonna share this thing to you. Okay, and it's just my personal experience. I'm not really sure is it kind of like a work with you or not or things like that. Okay, so I realize myself throughout throughout my entire period of lifetime. I realize that ki laugh is a kind of like a somewhat something act like a medicine, probably. Okay, yeah, because it just it just kind of like a somebody, it just make me kind of, I don't know how it's supposed to be. It's something that na ki wet something. Okay, yeah. I don't know, something stuck in here. Okay, so what was I kind of like a trying to tell you? Okay, yeah, laugh. Um, um, I don't know. Okay, first of all, is that ki um, sometimes I don't know. Right now, I'm not in the kind of like a mood to record artifact. I'm just kind of like a somebody just fumbling about something. I'm not, yeah, in the this particular kind of like a process in this kind of like a stuffing things like that. Okay. By the way, I kind of like mentioned this thing multiple times regarding about how much kind of like a something important is the kind of like a laughter and things like that, and how much it kind of like a help you to add benefit in your health and things like that. And basically, it somehow it kind of like a work with me. Like, I don't know, but sometimes na happiness or kind of like a somebody laughter is a kind of like a gives a purpose to kind of like a live the life. Now it's a very kind of like a delusion word to say, a kind of like a somebody is this thing that ki laughter kind of like a give the kind of like a purpose. Okay, laughter does not give the purpose, definitely not. but it's somehow kind of like a felt that ki we are living the life. Okay, yeah. Happiness is a kind of like a version, and laughter is a kind of like a upmost higher than that. Okay, yeah. When you are laugh, then that means that ki you are okay. What I think, okay, what exactly is this thing? Okay, I am not really sure, but this is what I think about that. Okay, so let's just imagine this is the kind of like simply your health. Okay, this is your health. Okay, yeah. Now sad, anxiety and things, these are over here. Okay, yeah, these are over here. Okay, so basically when you have this more like a sad, anxiety, or kind of like a simply wrong thing, okay, or you are doubting yourself and things and that, those are factor are kind of like lets your life or lets your health to crawl down a little bit. Okay, crawl down means like that you be, your kind of like a health is not really good and things and that, and these are actually happen is because of this factor, because of that key you are not really kind of like a anxiety, you are not really good, you are self doubting, you are sad, your things and that, and these are kind of like a factor are kind of like a down your health. Okay, yeah. And basically the laughter, happiness, or kind of like a somebody being funny and things like that, these are stand here, probably these are stand here, which are helps to kind of like a somebody push your life, push your health to kind of like a bit more bigger and things like that. It's something like that probably. So I think this is just a scenario. Okay, so a sad kind of like anxiety or things, it kind of like a lets health us down. But if you have kind of like a some happiness and laugh and things like that, it kind of like a makes your life up. Okay, yeah. So this is just my kind of like a some analogy regarding about the health side. Health is this thing. Okay, because and I also experience this thing. When you laugh, when you are really happy, when you are kind of like a things like I am feel like a really good when I'm kind of like a something, like I already explained this thing like a couple of weeks ago. One of my friend who has a wedding, and and basically I was really exhausted at that time, I was not really feel really good, but still I went there, I kind of like a dance at the haldi and things like that. This all actually happened is because of that key. I just like these are scenario are kind of like a make me not to think about that I'm kind of like a somebody sick. It kind of like a help me to enjoy and things like that. And for that particular couple of hour, I just completely forgot that yeah, I'm kind of like a sick, and that is somewhat something kind of like a some happiness and laughter is kind of like a somebody cured our illness. It's not a kind of like a something cured means like basically a kind of like a doctor kind of like a doing a dance in front of you, not like that way, but a kind of like a practical sense, yes. A laughter, these are kind of like a things are kind of like a help us to kind of like cure somehow something like that. And this is not just my opinion, this is kind of like somebody your opinion too. You also experience this thing that key when you are kind of like a really laugh, or when you kind of like a really happy or things, you feel good, you feel great, as well as I feel really great too. And this is what kind of like a things that it kind of like a uh, increase the kind of like a health power probably. Yeah, but let's just understand the scenario that what if that ki the laughter would kind of like cure the illness. Okay, just imagine a scenario. Okay, yeah. So if the laughter would kind of like cure the kind of like a illness and things like that, then probably the comedian are the new doctor. Okay, yeah, because they are kind of like telling a jokes and things and that, yeah, so they are a new doctor. Okay, yeah. Another thing is that ki if you went to surgery, then people are kind of like a somebody try to play a kind of like a comedy movie or things like that, or maybe a kind of like a doctor are kind of like a doing a dance or doing a funny dance in front of you, so that you might gonna kind of like somebody automatically heal probably. It's a bit really funny to kind of like a visualize that perspective, but it's good, it's great, yeah. But what I realized that na ki I laugh or happiness is not kind of like something depend on the like okay, what exactly is this thing, I what exactly what I'm thinking right now. Okay, yeah. That key like basically this is our health or this is our life. Okay, yeah. And this life is not kind of like a constant. No, it's not. Okay, yeah. Life is up, down, up, down, up, down. Okay, yeah. Now what is actually up and down means what? Down means like that ki something wrong thing happened or things and that and that. Up means something right thing happened and things and that. Down thing something wrong, some right thing something, yeah. Now imagine a scenario. Okay, imagine scenario that ki let's just say your friend had a breakup. Okay, yeah, and he was kind of like going through very kind of like a difficult path and things like that. Okay, yeah. Now your responsibility to kind of like a make him kind of like a somebody that ki laugh and things and that kind of like a things. So what you do is that ki you just kind of like a somebody decided that ki bring your friend to the kind of like a comedy club or things like that. Okay, now you seen that comedy club multiple times. Okay, kind of like a somebody stand up comedy and things like that. You laugh multiple times, but you went there every single time. So for you is kind of like a not really that much kind of like a somebody add any kind of like a value or things like that. But the person who is a kind of like a had a breakup, you kind of like a make them that like you kind of like a bring that particular person to the comedy club, and that particular person kind of like a laugh really much. Okay, yeah. There are multiple scenario. I'm gonna explain couple of things. Okay, yeah. Okay. First of all, is that ki when you had a breakup, okay, yeah, then you might not laugh that much. Why is that? Because you are actually suffering from some sort of amount of pain. Okay, yeah, and that pain is kind of like a not letting you kind of like a make you laugh because the kind of like a the laughter or happiness are kind of like somebody restrict sorry, it's okay, breakup and things are kind of like somebody. I don't know. Is this thing that na ki probably is this thing that na I realize in my life. Okay, yeah. Well, it's not depend upon the external scenario that makes you laugh or makes you happy. It's something. It's sometimes na. It's a your intention. If you want to laugh, if you want to happy, if you want to be if you want to be happy or things and that, it's all up to you. If you want, then you will be happy in every scenario. Because let's just say if your friend had a breakup, okay, yeah, and you kind of like put him into the comedy club, that particular person might not gonna laugh, or maybe he will not gonna kind of continue. Why is that thing? Because of that ki like a breakup is kind of like a hit very hard, legitly it hit very hard, and it kind of like a restrict us to not to get laugh that much. From experience scenario, I'm not really sure am I kind of like a talking really right, but this is what I experienced, that ki when you are feel really sad or kind of like a something happened very devastating thing happened with you, then probably we are kind of like a restrict ourselves to not to laugh ourselves. Okay, yeah. So probably is this thing, but I don't know, dude. Yeah, it's something that na ki I realize that ki if you want happiness, okay, yeah, you need to be kind of like a went down. You will need to went down, and then you kind of like reach that happiness. Okay, yeah. If you are here, you will kind of like gain the happiness like this much. Okay, but if you are here, then you are kind of like getting the happiness this much. So basically, what I'm trying to tell you here is what like a sadness and kind of like a anxiety and things and that. Okay, yeah, which is kind of like a slowly restrict us to kind of like a not let us laugh and things like that. But if you are allow yourself to kind of like a laugh and things like that, then probably you are kind of like a getting more happiness than the normal person who kind of like a getting the happiness this much, but you are kind of like a getting the happiness like a this much. Okay, it's a visual representation. I'm not really sure is it exactly right, but this is what I kind of like experience, that key you have to kind of like get low at somewhere so that you will kind of like get high at something. So it's I don't know, it's a very kind of like it's only very difficult to explain things like that, but this is what it is. Okay, yeah, it's actually happened with the music too, because in the music it does not kind of like add beep 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 beep, beep like dum 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 dum. No, it's not. It's kind of like a gives you kind of like a suddenly point where you just kind of like a suddenly feel really empty music and things like that, and suddenly there is a beat and just like pump and let's do. Okay, because when this thing actually happened, this kind of like a when your emotions are kind of like a change from down to up, it kind of like add so much amount of value. It kind of like impact us a lot. Like same thing happened in the music too, because in the music have a kind of like a somebody beat where kind of like a somebody all the excitement thing actually happened after the beat and things like that. Same thing happened with the happiness too, or kind of like a somebody health and things like that. But still I'm not really sure about this thing, because it's a very very vague scenario. okay, and very kind of like I don't know, this is what I feel, this is what I kind of like thinks that probably I'm not really sure about this thing, but I use like a happiness. I watch stand-up comedy. I watch kind of like a some the it kind of like a make me feel really good. Like basically when I was kind of like doing my work, usually after I ate my lunch, okay, yeah, 4 p.m. or kind of like a 5 p.m. Actually 4 p.m. is a very low end of my low end. Yeah, literally at that time I was kind of like a shutdown. Like I was kind of like doing my work and it's like then this kind of like a things actually happened while I was doing my work at almost like a 4 p.m. and things like that. So what I do is that I play stand-up comedy so that I would kind of like actually, yeah, I just looked at that kind of like listen my headphone and kind of like actually get something, and then I kind of like, oh, now let's just refresh and let's just back to the work and things like that. So this is what I kind of like something do probably. Okay, yeah, and it kind of like add value in my life. It kind of like somebody adds something, I don't know. But what I realized throughout my life is that there are so many people are not want to love or not want to be happiness. Okay, yeah. And why is that? Because of that, our society has a kind of like a very different perspective of the looking at the happiness. Oh yeah, like basically it's this thing, na, ki usually when you are kind of like a so serious about your work, and when you are so serious regarding about your face is kind of like a serious and things and that people are kind of like a add value in you, people are kind of like a emphasize on you, people are kind of like a things that okay, the stuff that you are kind of like saying things like that. But the person who are kind of like solely making us laugh and things and that we are not giving them that much amount of value, and which is true. Like have you ever experienced this thing? I experienced this thing. I legitimately experienced this thing that okay, is this thing that the is this thing that na ki like basically we are not kind of like a let ourselves to happy. That is true, and I did that thing multiple times. Yeah, literally I did that thing multiple times, that I just kind of like somebody just like, yeah, like basically is this thing, happiness is somewhat something is comes from the external point of perspective, but you have to allow yourself to kind of like a happy. Okay, if you're not kind of like allow yourself to happy, then external factor will not kind of like add anything if you don't allow yourself and things like that. But still this is just, I think that I might be kind of completely wrong, or maybe I'm kind of completely right. I'm not really sure. I'm just kind of like telling my experience. Whatever, this is it. I should supposed to be end here, and thank you.